Hi, I'm Mary Brunst. I'm from the Baltimore, Maryland area. I'm a guest instructor here at Rocky Mountain School of Photography. And today I want to share with you my 5 quick tips for posing. Okay, so tip number 1, I want to talk about photographing and watching the angle of the nose in a portrait. So it is most flattering if we're photographing someone from above the angle of their nose just slightly, but not too much above that we're having the tip of the nose cross the tip of the lip, and that not too much to the side that we're not having the tip of the nose cross the line of the cheek, because it'll elongate and not be as flattering. All right, so Quinn, I'm going to have you look all the way at this wall for me and slowly bring your face back to me. Stop right there. Perfect. And when we see in this photo how the tip of her nose is just crossing her cheek, Quinn has a really cute little nose, so it doesn't really elongate it too much, but you can see the principle illustrated. Whereas if I have her come just slightly in, so go that way just a little bit and bring your eyes right to me, how much more flattering of an image that is. Awesome. Now I'm short, so I'm going to get up a little bit higher. And all right, Quinn, I'm going to have you lean forward on your arm and go ahead and just put your chin down for me. Perfect. Keep looking down. Look all the way at your toes. There we go. Perfect. And then turn and face me a little bit. But keep looking down. Perfect. Awesome. And we can see in that photo how it's just not very flattering how the tip of the nose is crossing the top tip of her lip. Whereas if I have her look up slightly, it's a much more flattering image. Number 2, I like to say this as biceps back up, because if we have whatever is closest to the camera appears largest in our image. So when someone is perfectly profiled to you and their shoulder and their arm is the closest to your camera, it's going to appear a little bit larger and be distracting from their face. And in a portrait, the face is our center of interest, so we don't want that to happen. So what I'll have them do is pull their arm away from the camera, directing the viewer's eye right back up to the face. So let me show you what that looks like when we don't do it. So go ahead and look. Perfect. And now, Quinn, I'm going to have you stay completely profile to me. Put your thumb in your pocket and roll your shoulder back for me and roll this shoulder towards me. And then we're just taking the widest part of the arm and backing it off a little bit to again draw the interest or the viewer's eye back to the center of interest, which is their face. All right, next I want to talk about slimming the waist. Tip number 3. It is always flattering regardless of who we are. Everyone wants a slimmed down waist. So when we pose someone straight on, so Quinn, I'm going to have you look right at me. Everything is straight. Quinn is obviously a very slim and trim person, so this really isn't an issue. But it still, regardless of somebody's shape, always looks nicer if we angle them slightly to the camera. So Quinn, I'm going to have your toes, your hips, and your shoulders face the light stand, and go ahead and stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. We can see from the camera angle how much more slimming it is to see her angled versus straight on. Actually, I'm going to have you stand straight on for me just to get one of those pictures for them to see. Perfect. And now go ahead and have your toes and shoulders and hips face that way. Perfect. And then again, that whole thing we talked about with the bicep not being the closest to the camera, I'm going to have you, Quinn, just go ahead and pull your elbow back and put your thumb in your pocket. Perfect. And sometimes when we are photographing, especially men in like corporate headshots, it will make their shoulders look wider and their waist slimmer. If you then go ahead and I'm going to have you angle just slightly more that way for me, and then bend your shoulders back. A little bit less for me. Perfect. When the shoulders are straight on, but then the hips are turned, it tends to slim the waist down. Perfect. You look awesome. Thank you. Tip number 4, I want to talk about angles, and specifically I want to talk about your angle as a photographer to your subject. Whenever we are up above photographing someone, it tends to make them look smaller, therefore slimmer, and it is usually very, very flattering. Most women appreciate being photographed from up above. I know I do. And then if we look at our subject from down below, it tends to make them look larger than life. So if you ever want to make someone look taller or more, it's almost more of a masculine pose or a little bit larger than life, if you look up at them, it'll give that impression. So with me being short, that's very easy to do for everyone taller than me. And Quinn, I'm gonna go ahead and have you cross your arm, give me a good power pose here. She is fierce, my friends. Perfect. Super pretty. And see how Quinn's chin is still angled down? So again, like we were talking about in tip number 1 about the angle of the nose, even when I'm looking up at her and I'm shooting from below the angle of her nose, if she goes ahead and tucks her chin down, it still has, we're still not looking up her nose, so to speak, and it's still a flattering angle. Perfect. You look great. And then, and that's great. It is a more masculine pose, but obviously it's a great pose for women too, and it'll have more of that powerful, we call it a power pose, more powerful feel. And then if we look from up above, and actually I'm gonna get from way up above since I'm so short here so you can actually see it in the photo. And Quinn, I'm gonna have you go ahead and cross your arms again and turn slightly towards the camera. Perfect. Yeah, that looks awesome. Or towards the light, I said the camera, I meant the light. Perfect. You look great. All right, tip number 5, if it bends, bend it. Motion in photographs always helps aid compositionally. It helps to draw the eye to the viewer around in a photograph. And when someone is standing static, stiff, straight, go ahead and stand straight for me, Quinn. Perfect. It doesn't, obviously it's still a pretty portrait of Quinn, but it doesn't add any interest. Where if I have Quinn come up and bend her hand up by her face, and I'm gonna have, instead of the thick part of your hand, I'm gonna have this thin side of your hand by your face. We add that movement, and go ahead and just stick your thumb in your pocket, cock your hip. If it bends, bend it. And sometimes I'll even have my clients, especially in studio sessions, if I'm outside, I'll have them walk and talk and I'll interact with them. So there is that movement being photographed. If we're in the studio like we are today, sometimes I'll just have them kind of go through some dance moves, or I'll be like, hey, shake it out for me. Or I'll give them 3 things to do at once. So I'll say, Quinn, I'm going to have you, when I say go, I want you to cock your hip, put your hand in your pocket, and put the other hand in your hair. And then it adds a little bit of movement. Or I'll say, go ahead and play with your hair for me. Maybe move your hip back from the camera. And it adds just a little bit of movement and motion. Go ahead and grab your collar. And then point your wrist out and your fingers, perfect. So if it bends, bend it. That means the fingers, the wrist, the elbow, the knees, the hips, the neck. If it bends, bend it. It'll add a little bit of movement and interest in your photograph. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and it aids in helping you in your next photo shoot when you go to pose your model or your subject. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. And if you'd like to see more content like this and lots more, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.
Yes! Yes!
I love it.